What's up, y'all? It's finally here. Today's my 50th birthday, and I wanted to make this video as I leave a very full and fun and exciting and full of lessons decade behind and enter into the 50 Club. So, shout out to everybody who's already in the 50s Club. I have aspired to be part of your team for such a long time, literally like the last 5 years. I probably said this in other videos, but for like the last 5 years, I feel like I have been saying I'm about to be 50 soon, and I am finally here. And let me tell you that I just feel super exhilarated and blessed and happy and favored and all of those things. So I wanted to, and I've been doing this for maybe the weeks leading up to finally becoming 50 years old. I have just been reflecting on the past decade and all of my lessons learned and all of my experiences and all of those things. So, with that said, let's jump into my list of the top 10 things that I think I learned in my 40s and that I'm going to be still perfecting in this next chapter. So, my first one is that your career and professional growth is about you and not about the company that you're in. Um, I learned this, I learned this maybe in my 30s, but it really kind of came to fruition in my 40s. Um, Having worked with some really great leadership, some great management teams, sometimes you feel like because you love the people that you work with, you love your company, they're just great all around. You try to shape your career next steps around where you are and kind of the people that are part of that process. None of those people should be a factor in the ultimate decision that you need to make as a professional. If you're going to stay in your role, you're going to stay in your role because you like it. And, external factors aside, you're not, part of a layoff or a furlough or something like that. If you choose to stay, it should be because you choose to stay. But if you choose to pivot, you choose to walk away, you choose to start over somewhere else, that should be about you. It should never be a decision that you make because you love your manager, you love your work bestie, all of that stuff. None of that should matter. I remember making I've made a couple of significant career transitions in my life, but the biggest one that I left, which was about a $60,000 difference, um, to leave and go somewhere else. That I actually, and I did make the decision, but the salary was such a huge decision. But the job that I was in, I still made really good money, and I loved the people that I worked with. I loved all of the people that I worked with. You know, I'm still very good friends with those folks today outside of that space. But the process of making that decision, believe it or not, part of me making that decision, I was making that decision kind of trying to factor in, like, but we've built such a great team here. Do I really want to break it up? Blah, 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 blah. I was really kind of placing a lot of what was going to impact me personally on a lot of those external things. And, I almost missed the moment. And, I ended up taking the new opportunity and literally leaving it like maybe in 90 days. I was like, yeah, no, all money ain't good money and this ain't working for me. Um, had I had I stayed, I'd probably be in jail because listen, I don't know if I would. I would not. I would not have been able to work with this one particular person. It wasn't gonna happen for me. It was not gonna happen for me. So I ended up leaving. However, walking into that opportunity set me up for another opportunity. And now here I am. I have exceeded what that last opportunity, that pay difference in that last opportunity. I've exceeded that. So, what God has for you, it is wholeheartedly for you. And sometimes you just have to be willing to take a step and make a move. And so I did. So, but what I learned in my 40s, it was really reinforced to me, like hard pressed Do not base your career decisions on the other things that are happening around you, people, your company, just that stuff. Do not let that block your blessing. I'm gonna just leave it there. Do not base your career decisions on the people at your old job or at the company that you're. It has nothing to do with the company that you're in. Career decisions and career advancement and promotion, those are decisions that are about you, your performance planning and all of that stuff. And I talk about that in other videos, and I'll talk about it in future videos. But your performance metrics, your growth, all of that stuff, it is about you, about you. So make it about you and not about other people. All right, my next thing that I learned in my 40s is relationships change. Relationships change, and how you nurture them is completely a decision that you need to make based on the details of the relationship. I believe assess where you are and figure out where you need to go. And if there's some value there, and it's mutual and it's worth fighting for, then by all means do the work. But if you realize that, y'all have just come to a crossroads, you've reached an impasse, not that it's something physical, but there is no longer the part about relationships that make it relatable. It doesn't align with where you're going in your life, in that season. It's a constant struggle. It's not, and it's not a struggle that's building muscle. It's a struggle that's draining. If the relationship isn't affirming, if it's not supportive, if it's just tolerating you, if it's just a space filler, y'all, there is something so freeing that pain brings. There's a freedom on the other side of painful processing. I think sometimes friendships, relationships, whatever they are, sometimes they're better afar, right? Like y'all don't have to choose different things, and it be, visceral or contentious, angry. It doesn't have to be that way. We can mutually agree that neither of us are growing in this space anymore. And it's best that we open this space up so that we can receive things that are going to add to us and not subtract. I've had some wonderful friendships that just could not, they no longer could abide in the space that I was going. I wasn't a good fit for them, things that they had going on in their lives, and vice versa. And we no longer could see eye to eye. And, God bless those relationships that, God bless the people that were part of it or whatever, and they've moved on. I pray that they're shrouded in success and love, right? But our spaces could no longer coexist. So there's nothing wrong with letting some things go. I wholeheartedly know that it's going to be a painful process, depending on the relationship. But if it's necessary, it's necessary. And I think my 40s just gave me a resolve to realize that being tolerated is so draining and it's exhausting. Being celebrated energizes you. And if your relationship is just tolerating you, it is just, treating you like a pair of old jeans that I don't want to get rid of. I know I'll never use them, but maybe one day, baby, donate me to the Goodwill because I got better things to do. So, yeah, but relationships change and it's okay. It is really okay. All right, moving on. The next one is celebrate yourself. Like I am celebrating myself. I celebrate my birthday the entire month of September, because I do. And I have done that for a while. But I realized that in my 40s, I did it a whole lot more. I took time to be introspective and make sure that, hey, girl, are you becoming who you wanted to become? Are you off track? Is God still pleased with how you show up? All of those things, I made sure I was asking those questions, and I was celebrating my milestones. I just feel like the world especially for women, has not socialized us to pat ourselves on the back or to congratulate ourselves. We see so many images of women being negative to each other and, oh, she thinks she all of that and blah, blah, blah. How about she is all that? And so are you. And it's a good thing. Yeah. So celebrate yourself no matter how small you think the win or accomplishment is. You need to just take a moment, tell God thank you, and keep it pushing, and know that you did the work. You did the work. No matter how small the milestone, you did the work. And so you deserve the acknowledgement and whatever that looks like for you. All right, my next one is, ooh, this is a big one. This was a big one for me. Prioritizing your own comfort. Listen, I know that in my 30s, I think I said this at the top, that I spent a lot of time trying to do and be what other people thought I was supposed to do and be. Um, Even to the point where I knew that I did not feel right about it. It just did not sit well in my spirit. It didn't align with anything I believed, and I was really, it wasn't criminal or anything crazy, but even little things, right? Like people telling you, I think you should be doing this. I'm a church girl, so church can be real. There could be a lot of dogma, and a lot of unintentional and sometimes intentional manipulation, because people see your gift and your ability, and then they try to say they want to attribute that to God. Well, the Lord told me that you're supposed to, and I don't want anybody to stumble upon this and be like, that's cult behavior. A lot of church behavior can be attributed to cult behavior. It just depends on how you define it, right? But sometimes people will see the value that you have. And the only way that they know that they can get some of your value is to attach the information about your value to something other than their own voice. And so sometimes when you're in church, attaching their need for your value to God's voice is going to make you do it. God told me that you should be doing XYZ. He didn't tell me, but since you're older, I'm going to believe you. Or since you're, a leader, you're a deacon, whatever, I'm going to believe you. You're a school teacher, whatever it is. If I perceive you as somebody that maybe has more wisdom than me, I may believe if you tell me. Somebody said, that's the dynamic at play. So I definitely learned in my 40s to prioritize my own comfort. And that is really about me just trusting the voice inside of me, trusting myself, reading the room, just knowing, not everything is for me, regardless of what you say, regardless of what you say. Prioritizing myself being in spaces or in company or in activities that just don't align with anything happening inside of me. I liken it to trusting your internal alarm, right? Like we've all seen those movies where said girl goes out with guy and meets guy and feels like homeboy is creeping me out, we probably should end this. But she doesn't listen to herself. Instead, she wants to be nice and she wants to be accommodating. We have seen it in office situations where you shrink to make your very incompetent manager feel more comfortable, or a coworker that they are dead wrong, but you just don't want to stir the pot or anything like that. You don't want to come off as abrasive or messy or anything. So you hold back the truth that you should share just because you don't want other people to be uncomfortable. You instead become uncomfortable so that you can prioritize their comfort. But it taught me prioritize my own comfort first. When you're on a plane, they always tell you put your oxygen mask on first because you can't save nobody else if you can't breathe. That is prioritizing your own comfort. Make sure you can breathe first. Okay. I remember Bishop Jakes came out with a book a couple years ago. I can't remember what it was about. Well, I can remember what it's about. I just can't remember what it was called. But this one is Reinvent Yourself. My 40s taught me, so I started my business in my 40s. I started coaching outside of my corporate role in my 40s. I started taking steps that were kind of separate from what I would normally do. I started making strides in new lanes on my own in my 40s. It was important for me I have two beautiful daughters, and I wanted my daughters to see me branch out and try and take risks and do things differently, and just kind of create waves. Um, I remember hearing a conversation, I feel like maybe it was a master class with Bishop Jakes and Oprah, and they were talking about reinvention. And I think his book might have been called Reinvent Yourself, honestly. But they were talking about some of the most iconic players in the world that different generations know them by different attributes. Queen Latifah, we know her today. This generation may ascribe her to being an actress. Another generation may ascribe her to being a jazz singer. And another generation may ascribe her to being a rapper. Um, Another generation may also ascribe her to being kind of the owner and the founder and the producer of the Flavor Unit, right? Like, she has done so many different things at so many different points in her life that people know her by her work in different seasons. LL Cool J, Will Smith, Oprah Winfrey, um, I think Viola Davis is doing something different. So people will know you by the work that you've done, by the lanes you've created in the different seasons of your life that you have reinvented. And so my 40s taught me that it is appropriate for you to find or create a new lane that defines you differently, because right, we are not monolithic as individuals. um, I can be a woman, a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, a friend, a mogul. I could be all of these things. They all require different skill sets, but all those skill sets are part of me. They all require maybe a different attention, some different attributes that I have, but they're all embedded in me. It's still the same person. It's just me showing up in the world in a different way at a different time to do a different thing, to accomplish a different purpose. Because I fully believe that we don't just live a life because of a purpose. I believe that purpose exists, new purposes for us will exist when we fulfilled our existing purpose, if that makes sense. So my 40s really taught me that once I've accomplished a purpose, then my next purpose begins, and so does my reinvention. How do I show up? And it doesn't, it's not in a nefarious way at all. So I hope it doesn't come across as that way. Um, but I believe in every season of our lives, it calls for us to bring something more. And so sometimes that something more is just building on the last thing that we were really good at. And so being able to reinvent ourselves, we get to show up fully in another space where we are able to pull on skills that maybe the last season in our life did not require. Yeah. So I learned to reinvent myself. And it has paid off in my 40s, and I'm excited to see what your girl does in this new decade. Okay. All right. One of my favorites. I learned this before my 40s, but again, in my 40s, I was able to stand 10 toes down in this. No is a complete sentence. And I don't really owe you anything additional to the no. It doesn't need, no, it's just no. An unapologetic no. Like, I don't need to offer you a Band-Aid and salve because you're not comfortable with my no, or you just didn't like that I gave you a no. Um, that's not a problem for me to solve. An honorable mention, my 40s taught me that I'm nobody's Band-Aid. I am not uh I'm not the salve for your wounds. That's not my problem. If you are hurt or angered by my existence or by my beliefs because they don't align with yours, um, that's a hurt that you'll need to heal on your own, because there was nothing negative in my intent. I'm always kind of self checking to make sure, did I say that with too much? And if the answer is no, the answer is no, right? Like I said it because I meant it, not because I wanted to hurt you. Sorry, I had to check my email. But yeah, no is an absolute complete sentence. It's a whole thought. And it really doesn't require any additional support unless I choose to add that support, unless I choose to round out my no with an explanation, like no, like no, I don't want to, or, no, I can't, or no, I don't have time. I don't owe you those things. I only owe you an answer, and that's no. Okay. So this is number 8. Start and stop as much as needed. Listen, this one right here. My 40s taught me that, again, I said prioritizing my own comfort. Continuing to do something for the sake of doing something is toxic. And I do not support toxic productivity. Productivity by design implies that you have created something, you are producing something. If you're not, then you're just tinkering. And if you're a tinkerer, then do your thing. But if you are moving, making no progress just for the sake of saying that you're being busy, it's not fruitful. It's not effective. So why are you doing it? Stop, reassess, or not even reassess, assess. I learned years ago, inspect what you expect. Take a look and make sure that the outcome is exactly what you envisioned it to be. And if it's not, figure out where you got off track so that you can get back on the track. Do not keep going down this highway realizing that you're going in the wrong direction. I used to tell my young career clients that as you are climbing the ladder of success, make sure that you take a minute to look up, to make sure that your ladder is not perched against the wrong building. Because God forbid, you could be on that ladder, get all the way to where you think you're supposed to be, only to find out you were never meant to be here in the first place. It's time wasted. And then you're going to have to start the process all over again. So start and stop as much as you need it, because you don't want to end up way down the rabbit hole only to find out this was all wrong. And I forgot some really critical steps along the way. And now I'm screwed. You're not screwed, but you're definitely going to be short on time, because you're going to have to start the work all over. Or you're at least going to have to start from where it last worked. Okay? This one I learned in my 40s from Dr. Oz. And this one's going to be short and sweet. Check your poop. You heard me right. Check your poop. I'm just going to leave it there. It should look a certain way. It should have certain attributes. And if it doesn't, call your doctor. But it will tell you if your body is doing what your body is supposed to do. So check your poop. All right. Okay, my last one. My last one is really kind of number 1, I guess, in my full list. This is my last one is really number 1. It probably is the most important of all things. And that is keep prayer and laughter on repeat. I truly, truly, truly believe in abundant living. And I believe abundant living happens because of the answers and the clarity that you find in prayer, the joy and the experiences that come out of being able to laugh. And I get it, we're going to cry, and not every day you're going to feel joyful and things like that. But to me, joy is intentional. I intentionally seek out moments to have joy. I used to call it my awkward laughing syndrome because if I'm nervous, if I am anxious, and I really do have anxieties, I kind of laugh through them to get me through them. Um, and then in laughing through them, it really makes things feel doable. So keeping prayer and laughter on repeat has really governed the last 10 years of my life. Um, and I'm definitely going to allow it to govern this next chapter, as I am a proud card carrying member of the 50/50 Club. Okay. So these are some of my life lessons from my 40s. These are definitely some of the ones that are constantly on replay in my life. I'm constantly pulling from these, I'm constantly sharing them. If you watched this whole video, shout out to you. Thank you so much. Drop me a comment and let me know if any of my life lessons from my 40s resonated with you, if they're lessons that you share. If you can take anything from them, let me know what that is. I will be back to my regular upload schedule this week. So you'll get a teachable moment from me on Thursday. Yeah, and happy birthday to me. So definitely like the video, drop me a comment because it helps with the algorithm. Like the video, share it with somebody, invite your good homegirl to come over here and watch these videos, and let's talk and build community and have fun and all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel for sure, because if you watch, you clearly like being here, so stay for sure. Yeah, I will talk to you later. Bye, y'all.